Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on today's video. Y'all, can you believe I have been doing this every single Wednesday for 2 years now? That's mind blowing. Thank y'all for sticking with me these past 2 years. It has been an incredible journey. But today we're going to be doing what we always do, making over thrift store finds. Today our vibes are summer, cottagecore. I love how all of them turned out. We're using some milk paint, some paint inlays, some transfers, the things we love. Let's go ahead and get started. Be sure to let me know what you think. Hey friends, let's get started with our first project. This one is a wooden tote. I think it used to be like a shoe box shiner kit, whatever you want to call it. But this was free to me. Mama has already painted it white. This was her project at one time. She left it in my shop for too long, and now it is my project. I love how that works. But we're going to disassemble it a little bit, get off that little piece of wood attached to the top, and I'm going to remove these eagles, save them for later. I'm not going to put them back on this project, but I might put them on another project in the future. We'll get everything a good scuff sand with a 120 grit sandpaper, especially over the areas that she painted, like this area right here. We just need to smooth that section over. Then we'll give everything a good wipe down, get all that dust away before we come in with a nice and thick layer of paint on shellac. When you're working with a wooden item and you're wanting a aged chippy finish with milk paint, it is best to apply a nice healthy coat of shellac or extra bond to the surface so the milk paint doesn't soak right into that wood. It really just depends on what kind of look you're going for in the final project. So today's video, I was gravitating towards this yellow color, y'all. I have been really loving yellow, and it's summertime. Yellow is just a great color to use. So I'm going to dump the rest of this Bespoke brand yellow, I forgot the name of it, into my little Dixie cup, and then I'm going to add a couple scoops of flour sack just to dim that yellow down just a tad. Excuse me. I'm going to add some water, mix well, and let it sit and thicken up for about 10 minutes. And I am looking at the surface, and I decide I want to come in and add some beeswax. This is a little beeswax bar by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. I love using this around edges just to ensure I get some chippage on my paint. And then I knocked my yellow paint all over my Alfred and Pete's paint inlay. I was so mad. So I tried to scoop up as much paint as I could, and we're going to start painting. I did 2 coats on the exterior of our wooden tote. That first layer always looks a little iffy. That first coat's very translucent and you think it's watered down too much. But once you come in and do that second coat, it just grabs onto that first coat, and the coverage is great, especially to be a yellow color. Here is what that first coat is looking like. I'm going to go ahead and apply one more coat, and I'm going to leave the inside alone for right now. Of course, I dried in between each of those coats with my heat gun, and we got this gorgeous crackle on all sides. So now I'm going to use a piece of sandpaper and sand over the edges where I applied that beeswax, and the paint will not be able to stick to that section, and it will come right off. I just love how this is looking. We are going to end up applying an inlay to this piece. So my favorite method is to use a top coat. We're going to be using the Alfred Co. and Peaks. I probably said that backwards. This gorgeous blue rose design right here. And we're going to use the same section twice. I get so many questions asking if you use a top coat, can you use the inlay a second and third time. So we're going to do it right on camera today so you can see for yourself the results. I'm going to mist the paint side of the inlay, apply my top coat, put the paint side of the inlay into that wet medium. I'm going to re-mist it and use a dry paper towel to just make sure everything has made great contact. I'm very impatient, so I'm going to use my heat gun. This, of course, is sped up, but it does not take long at all, maybe a minute. I'm going to re-wet that area, get off any excess water, and then we're going to peel the inlay back. The reason I love using milk paint and inlays together is because you're going for an aged look if you're using milk paint. So you're not having that high expectation of a perfect inlay, result, but it just goes hand in hand if you ask me. So I dried that side down and I also dried the inlay. You can see how it's a little wrinkly right there. We're going to be using the same side I wrote that second use on. I tend to do that so I know where and what has been used, because when you use a clear coat, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. I'm going to re-mist that area, apply the top coat once again to this side, and apply the inlay the exact same way. When you're using an inlay, try your best to lay it down one time and be done with it, because you don't have long to really work with the paper area because the paint is going to transfer. You seen my little hiccup a while ago, but nothing messed up. Here we go, peeling back for the second use in a top coat. Clearly, you can see it is more distressed, has less paint pigments than the other side did, but there's still paint pigments on this. Of course, it would be even lighter the third time, but if you can see something on that paper, in my opinion, you can get a third use, but it's going to be even more distressed. I personally like first and second uses about the same. I've never tried a third use in the top coat. I've never tried a third use in general, but I've seen many creators do it over and over and over again. So as you can see, I painted the inside a pretty green color, and we are going to clear this with Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax. I have not done anything to this inlay. I'm going straight over the top of it with the oil wax. What I have been told is, since this is a oil-based product, it is not going to smear your design. And that is just like awesome, right? Because that's what everybody worries about when using inlays, is sealing it and smearing the results. So I loved that I found out that this oil wax, you don't have to worry about that. You just brush it on, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and wipe it off. It's that easy. That's it for this project. Y'all let me know what you think. I like how both sides turned out. This tote is gorgeous. It sold right away for $27. Our next project is a dusty footstool. It's been in my workshop on my woodworking side for a while, so it is a bit dusty. We're going to give it a quick blow off real quick and get rid of some of that dust, and then we're going to start removing the fabric. I'm using a flathead and a hammer and a little pair of, wow, I'm having a blank, wire cutters to pull out the staples. This is for sure a homemade, hand-built project because look, they were using the fluffy part of the stool. They used a towel. They cut down a towel. I thought that was pretty cool, but it was stained and it had to go. So to the stool section, it had some screws showing that I didn't really like. So I'm going to use some of this glazing compound and a little popsicle stick and just cover up those screw holes. This product dries very quick, so within 10 minutes I can come in and sand that flat. Here we go again with the yellow. I have already shellacked the wood area of this stool, so I already got that part done. You can tell it's kind of shiny, so that is the shellac on the surface. I mixed up this time butter and flour sack, and I love this yellow combination too. It's a little bit more muted than our first project, but once again, we're going to do 2 coats, drying in between each coat with our heat gun. I'm not worried about painting the top side of the stool since we're going to be recovering it with some fabric. Did 2 coats. Now we're moving on to covering the top. I grabbed some batting out of my stash, cut down a piece, and we're going to start stapling this in place. I'm just going to work on one side at a time, doing my best to stretch and make it nice and taut and work around those corners the best way you can. Before coming in with our final fabric, I figured it was a good idea to stop, slow down a little bit, and clear up this milk paint. This time I'm just going to use some clear wax. Milk paint does need to be sealed up either with a top coat or wax. Normally wax or Sweet Pickins dark oil wax is my go-to. But this time I decided to just do clear wax because I wanted that yellow color to shine. Here I have some Dragonfly thrifted fabric. This was some good quality fabric, y'all, and I got quite a bit of it. I need to be thinking of some other things I can reupholster with this gorgeous fabric. Dragonflies are just so sentimental to a lot of people. A lady I work with, Norma, she loves dragonflies, so I had her in my mind the whole time I was doing this project. But I cut out a piece big enough for the top, and I'm going to give it a quick iron to get out those stubborn wrinkles. Man, those wrinkles did not want to go anywhere. But after working on it a little bit, they did go down a little bit, and I can just pull out the wrinkles that were just too stubborn. I'm going to flip over the piece and start stapling again on the underneath side, stapling right above the cotting batten so we can make sure that's covered up when we trim the excess fabric off. I'm just going to work on one side, flip it over, do the opposite side, and then I'll do the ends last, and then the corners the very last part. And that is it for this project. This one was pretty simple, straightforward, but I love the transformation. I just love that fabric with that butter color. It was just a match in heaven. Y'all let me know what you think about this project. I priced the footstool for $33. Moving on to our third project. I picked up this little 3-drawer cubby situation from a yard sale for $1, but you can see it's selling at Dollar General for $15. My idea was just to flip the drawers around, and then we could put a cute inlay maybe on the front of the drawers. So that's our plan. We're going to start by giving everything a scuff sand. The inside of these cubbies were a little rough, and so were those drawers. So I'm just going to smooth those over, get everything dusted off, and then come in with a coat of shellac. This is a MDF piece. Like, the drawers are plywood, but most of it is MDF, so we really need to get that sealed up with a hard layer of shellac so no water can penetrate through and get into that MDF and make it swell up. So I did 2 coats of the paint on shellac. That dries very quick, and then we can move on to our paint. I tried to warn y'all, I'm just feeling this yellow color. But of course, use this as your inspiration. You use whatever color you're obsessed with right now. This yellow color is just an obsession for me. That's just kind of how I live my life. I get fixated on certain things and I wear it out and then I'll move on to something else. But either way, we're going to go ahead and apply 2 coats all over this organizer. I did leave the back side of these unpainted, but the rest is getting a couple coats of this mixture. But I did go ahead and paint inside the cubbies as well. We are going to be using a inlay on the drawer fronts. Again, this is from the Alfred Peets & Co. New Summer IOD paint inlay. I have already used a little section of the sheet I'm doing, so it's not all going to be a first use of the inlay. I just love these vintage wallpaper inspired designs. But I just want to show you with this project that it doesn't really make too much of a difference using a second and first use inlay. So 2 of my drawers are going to be second use and 1 of my drawer is going to be a first use. And let's see if you can even tell when it's all sitting together. So I'm going to use that same method with my top coat. I use polyacrylic matte. You need to put down a nice healthy layer because it needs to stay wet before you come in and apply your inlay. If you apply your inlay to a semi-dry surface, it's not going to transfer. So we're going to do the same technique. We'll let it dry or dry it with the heat gun, and then we will pull back that reveal, and the reveal is always the most fun part. With this project, I decided to give it a clear coat, a spray clear coat on the drawer fronts. I don't know why, I just had it handy and decided to. But you can see when that clear coat hits the surface, it really makes the colors of the inlay pop back out versus it not being sealed. So now we're going to take our tape measure. I'm going to find center of our drawers and drill a hole for our new hardware. I had these wooden knobs in my stash and I thought they were so cute with that pop of wood color up against the yellow. Super cute. I used a long drill bit to fit down in there to tighten that screw. And then we got a couple more steps. We're going to do the oil wax over the whole surface now. I just love how this looks. Of course, if you like the project how it is right now, you don't have to do that. It does look a little scary going on, but it just looks scary. It does not come out really much darker. Just brings just a little hint of age to the project and sits inside of all that fine crackle that you got from the milk paint. I'm going to brush it on, let it sit and kind of soak into the surface for about 10 minutes, and then we will wipe it off. Be careful when you're wiping off that you don't leave fingerprints on the surface. I've done that and been really mad at myself. And that's it for this project. Y'all let me know what you think about our 3-drawer cubby transformation. I think it's super cute. I priced it for $33. Here we go. On our last project, I have this 2-step wooden ladder. I paid $3 for this at a yard sale. I'm going to give it a good sand. It had some rough parts. You can tell it's been outside for a little bit. So we're going to get all the dirt and grime off by sanding it off, and then we're going to give it a quick clean and then shellac it. You can really see how dry this wood is. It is soaking up that shellac. It was just very, very thirsty. So I went ahead and did 2 coats on the piece. I was worried, even with the shellac, I would not get any crackle. So I'm going to come in with my Sweet Pickens beeswax bar, so at least we can get some distressing and chippage. I don't know why I say chippage. It gets on my nerves every time I say it. But we're going to hit those edges really well, some of the flat areas too. And then I mixed up, or I already had this mixed up because I was painting another project and I had some extra. This is artichoke and flour sack, equal parts. Sorry, I didn't catch that clip, but we're going to go ahead and apply 1 thick coat to all of the surfaces. I'm going to leave the metal on top alone. We're not going to be painting that. Just 1 coat was good enough for this because that milk paint had been sitting up quite a while and it was nice and thick, so its coverage was really good. Once I've distressed my ladder back down, we're going to take some transfers from March de Fleurs and Primrose Isle. I just grabbed some bits and bobs from both of these transfer packs, and we're going to start transferring it to our ladder. I just loved the purple and bluish flowers up against this green color. It is just so, so pretty. But since I probably should have clear coated this before coming in with the transfers, because I did struggle quite a bit because it was wanting to pick up more of that beeswax bar. But since this piece is already so distressed and worn, I was not going to let it ruin my day or my project. So just what stuck is what stuck. and I just try to take my time. I would even take my fingernail up under there a little bit and kind of coax it along, and that helped quite a bit. You can also use a razor blade to do that. And I just added transfers all along the rails and the steps and the top of the ladder. I gave this piece a nice layer of a clear coat just in case the owner wanted to put this outside as a cute little plant stand. And other than that, this project is done. It was a quick and easy makeover, but man, what a difference. Y'all let me know what y'all think about our ladder makeover. I priced it for $33. If you are in need of some Sweet Pickins milk paint products or some IOD products, head over to my website and find what your next summer project needs. I'll have that information linked in the description box. I appreciate y'all spending your time with me today. If you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button. Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know which project was your favorite, and consider subscribing if you have not already. Thank you, my friends. I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.